Welcome to the Hemo Life Podcast, your gateway to transformation and empowerment. Hosted by L.A. Aguayo, we're diving deep into the world of rare disorders, unlocking the full spectrum of your potential. Each episode, join us as we connect with pioneers, wellness experts, and true survivors. They're here to share powerful stories and invaluable insights, from mental resilience to physical health, community news to life-altering strategies. At Hemo Life, we provide the tools you need to excel and inspire. Prepare to elevate your life, learn, laugh, and grow with us. Let's embark on this journey together.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Hemo Life Podcast, where pain meets purpose and our stories become strength. I'm your host, L.A. Aguayo, and today I'm joined by a new voice, my co-host over here, Drew. He's a powerful advocate and severe hemophiliac. Drew brings firsthand experience, energy, and passion for pushing the community forward.
Thanks, so. I'm pumped to be a part of this movement and especially excited for today's guest.
That's right. Today we have a truly inspiring guest, Chris Mill, known on Instagram as Millsy2370. This is a severe hemophiliac who has transformed adversity into advocacy, becoming a beacon of resilience in our community. Despite facing significant challenges, including severe ankle damage due to hemophilia, Chris refused to let his condition define him. He sought out innovative solutions and became one of the first hemophiliacs to try out the ExoSym brace, a cutting-edge orthotic device developed by the Hanger Clinic. This brace, originally designed for military personnel, has been life-changing for Chris, restoring mobility and allowing him to pursue his passions. Chris is a staunch advocate for mental health awareness with the bleeding disorder community. He openly shares his experiences, emphasizing the importance of mental well-being alongside physical health. In this episode, we'll delve into Chris's journey with the ExoSym brace, discuss the mental health challenges faced by those in the bleeding disorders community, explore fitness do's and don'ts for hemophiliacs, and tackle the often overlooked battles with insurance companies. All right, Chris, first off, welcome to the show. I'm grateful to have you here.
Thanks, man. Happy to be on. Glad to see it back up and running again.
I know, man. I'm excited. It was about a 2-week break, a little hiatus there, just a lot of stuff going on, but I'm excited for this one. So let's start off with, what changed your life. For the people listening, and they don't know what the ExoSym brace is, can you explain what it is and why you needed it in the first place?
Yeah, so, first off, I'll kind of show you. I took it off so that you guys can see it, but, I realized that this is going to be on video and audio only.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of give an example here, but basically what it is it's an advanced AFO, which is like those plastic braces that you see people that have like cerebral palsy or drop foot have that go up the back of their leg. The brace was, like you said, originally developed for the military, and within like the last 15 years or so, it started making its way into the public. So basically what it does is it works by, taking the pressure off the joint, off the ankle joint, or any of the lower leg injuries that you might have. And then it kind of puts it up in this knee cuff at the top. And then the struts on the back, that works as like a spring to propel you into your next step. So basically my foot is sitting in there limp the whole time, or at least it's supposed to be. Sometimes you kind of grip with your toes and do other dumb things that are just reactionary, but you're supposed to leave it limp in there. But yeah, the reason that, I needed that was because I was becoming like far too limited in what I could do with, my ankle joints being my target joints. It led to, severe bone-on-bone arthritis. I wasn't quite ready for an ankle replacement or a fusion, so because those aren't quite up to par to like knee replacements are. So that's why I got it.
So, Chris, what kind of ankle damage were you dealing with before the ExoSym, and how was it affecting your daily life and fitness?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I was bone on bone in both my ankles, and that was, a result of bleeds over the years from playing basketball or stumbling through the woods. My ankles were hurting so bad, it was basically a struggle to get up and, go to the bathroom in the morning.
Yeah.
And that's only 15 feet away from my bedroom, so that's always rough. But I couldn't stand at like my conferences that I would go to for work. Yard work was starting to get tough. Cardio was pretty much non-existent. And, as a result of that, I couldn't really lift legs or do that kind of stuff. So
yeah, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I know, man. I struggled with that for so long. And it's just like, the cardio thing that you just mentioned, you weren't able to do like any forms of cardio at all. And then,
No, like walking was definitely out of it. The most I could do is probably like ride a bike.
okay,
That was pretty much it. But
dang.
that's
And so
not
like,
really,
what can you
doesn't
do
feel like the
now? You
same.
can like, can you full out run now?
Yeah, I can run after I got them. It was kind of my goal to run a 5K.
Yeah.
So I did that. That was the first 5K I ever ran, and that
Wow.
was after getting the braces. So yeah, I could do that. I mean, it was rough. I ain't gonna lie, and that was soon after. So I wasn't really like an expert in using the braces yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I can pretty much do anything. I can sprint. Like that's what I try to stick to now is sprints. The long distance running, I just feel like that's kind of like too much on your other joints. Just like if you got a fusion and started running, it's a little
Gotcha.
bit too much on your knees and your hips. So I
Okay.
try to kind of limit that a little bit, and I could definitely go for a long walk, no problem. That's easy, but yeah, I try to stick to sprints and stuff now.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of like a dream of mine to kind of feel that feeling again. I remember when I was able to run and that those endorphins that just get
Yep,
released from running. It's just like, it's a special feeling that, once it gets taken away and then you're like, man, I want that. So, so if
absolutely.
you got if you're out there and you got full capability to run, you have no excuse. And I promise you, if it got stripped away from you, you would want it back in your life.
Well, you get the
Absolutely.
special days that like you're feeling really good and you get that one run in and it's
Dude,
just like it's just so powerful.
that's so true too. I was at the park not that long ago with my kids and they were all like playing tag and stuff. And I'm just sitting there like an old man being like, oh, I'm glad you guys are having fun. And then they start like trying to involve me into it, like, oh, I got you, you're it. And then it goes through your head. You start to think, do I even want to attempt this?
Right.
And then but dude, I did it. And I was like running. I actually have a video of it because my kid was running up the hill and I was surprised on how fast I was getting to him. And then I dove and like grabbed his foot and like pulled him down.
No.
Like, you little jerk. But I was actually impressed. And I was just like, man, I could, I can't do that all the time. But for some reason at that moment, I was able to just do it,
Yep.
So that's awesome. So tell me, what was the process like to get evaluated and fitted for the ExoSym? Was it smooth or did you have some roadblocks?
So it was a little unsettling at first, I guess you could say. I wasn't quite sure if it was going to work or I couldn't see how it was going to work. So basically, what you do is you take a bunch of videos and you send them out of you walking from the side, from the back, from the front, and you send it out to the Hanger Clinic in Gig Harbor, Washington, explain to them what your issues are, where you're finding trouble walking, when it hurts, what are your conditions, and then they let you know if you're a good candidate or not, which of course I was. And the next
Yeah.
step is to gather funding. And that probably was like the biggest roadblock. And of course, dealing with insurances.
Mm-hmm.
And this, of course, was not covered by insurance, not one penny at all. So I had to go through all the different sources to try to, get funding for it. I went to the chapters and Hope for Hemophilia and my HTC to see what funding was available to help with that, because it's like, I understand that maybe I can afford these things, but like, I shouldn't have to pay for it. This should be something that is definitely covered by insurance, So then I also had to kind of like swallow my pride and start a GoFundMe. And I really didn't want to do that because, like I said, I could probably afford it. But when I was talking to the clinic out there, they talked me into it and they said, it's amazing how much support you'll get. And, no matter how much money you have, it's just amazing to see how many people will turn out to support you because they know the struggles that you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And they were right, and I couldn't believe the amount of support that I received. Now I still had to pay out a huge chunk of change for it, but just the fact that so many people did it, like even if it was like $5, is like, that's pretty cool that you're
did you just
doing that.
use like social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram, and like that was kind of just how you promoted it? And like how long did it take for it to like come to fruition to where like you hit your goal number?
It didn't take very long at all. There were some friends that came out of the woodworks that were just throwing some astronomical numbers out there, but it didn't take too long at all, and I surpassed the goal that I had. So yeah,
dude, that's really amazing. I mean, the whole GoFundMe thing, I think that some people have abused it.
Oh,
and so therefore, sometimes you have this like sense of shame when you're creating it. I haven't done it yet, but I'm speaking from patients that I've that I've talked to, through our pharmacy and stuff, and for different reasons, whether that you're losing your house and different stuff like that,
Right.
and like hearing them talk about
Yep.
the shame that they have doing it. And I don't know. So I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, to try to get help, especially for something like this. Like, I mean, it's completely changed, his life, Chris's life. And so I think that's amazing. And I know there's other people who are interested in this brace too. And so, I don't think they should feel, ashamed to try to get some help with something like this.
You should never be ashamed to ask for help.
So once I got my funding and I flew out there to Gig Harbor in Washington to get fitted, they basically cast your leg in the same kind of process that they do for a regular cast, like if you broke your bone. So then they come out with like a rough draft version of it, or a prototype that's kind of just real crude looking, all plastic. And then, I try that on, and then I try to walk with it. And as soon as I put it on and took the first step, I was like, holy crap, I just wasted $18,000 like
It didn't work
doing
at
this.
first.
It was, my ankles hurt so bad. They were worse than like walking normally. I was like, this is not right. But Ryan out there, he assured me that the real ones are going to feel much better, and that I would learn how to walk in them properly. So over the next week, you have to stay out there to learn how to walk in them. I'm talking like baby steps. Like, you're literally holding onto a rope and walking. You're holding on to like those, like a walker and all this other kind of stuff, just learning how to walk. Then you go up steps, then you do this. And eventually within that same week, you're running. Like, you're in the parking lot running. So it was like really disheartening when I took those first steps, and I tell everybody that I tell about this, that you're going to go out there and you're going to be disappointed at first, but then you learn how to use it and how to walk again, keep your foot limp, and strengthen those muscles that you haven't used in years. And then once you get up and running, it's amazing once you get to that first run that you haven't done in
I'm
years.
like getting chills just like
All right.
listening to it. Like, seriously, having to learn how to like walk again. And did you document that entire process? Like,
Yeah,
videos?
there's a video out there of me kind of learning how to walk again on my page. Yeah.
Dude, that would be so weird, just being like, man, this does not feel right. Like, even like with, you're playing golf and all of a sudden your grip is one way, and they change your grip, and then you're like, dude, what the heck is going on? I feel like a dummy. And then but then you have to like keep on trusting it. Was it actually hurting your body, or was it just awkward?
It was just awkward, and like, you would know when you weren't using it right because you would have pain in your ankle. So, and it's just, a quick moment of pain, just like when you hurt anything now, like you twist it the wrong way or something real quick. But
did you get a lot of bleeds
as a result? No,
while you were learning it?
Nope, I didn't get any. And I guess maybe that's a whole different topic to talk about with me. I haven't had a bleed in years.
Okay.
Like years. And if I did have a bleed, it was mostly just my ankles.
So you were mostly just dealing with arthritic pain?
That's pretty much where I'm at, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. How often are you infusing?
I'm on Hemlibra, and it's once every 2 weeks.
Okay. Awesome. So, man, no bleeds.
I think it's crazy, like how we all have different like bleeding profiles.
Yes.
And
it is so crazy.
And it's like I see some of these guys out here that just like they breathe the wrong way and they get a bleed. And I'm like, I haven't had a bleed in years, and like I'm pretty much doing whatever. Like, I go into the gym and do the same thing that everybody else is doing. I don't know. I don't get it. And maybe that's a result of being, in shape. So
when did that transition happen for you though? Like, maybe just like, let's take a few steps back and talk about like, growing up with your bleeding disorder, the transition to where you don't have bleeds anymore.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did have bleeds when I was younger. Right. I mean, I guess that, and I kind of attribute that to not having the strength in the joints and all that other kind of stuff. But I even used to get like more muscle bleeds and all that as well. But I think it was probably sometime in like high school where that started like dwindling off and being more just my target joints. Everything else was just maybe a jammed finger or something. But at that point, I was still even on as needed. I was on that, on demand. I wasn't on prophylaxis until 2016 is when I started doing that. Even at on demand, I really didn't get that many bleeds, in my opinion, anyway.
Well, enough to do joint damage of some sort.
Yeah, that was like I said, the only time that I would get it was in the target joints.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just to give the listeners some insight on you and your journey, you have A, right?
Yeah.
With inhibitors or
No inhibitors. Never had an inhibitor. Yeah, it was rough growing up. We were, it was the 80s, so we were kind of pushed away from infusing unless we absolutely had to, because of the HIV and Hep C crisis. And so, I would have a bleed and not infuse. So it would a lot of damage.
Were you supposed to be on propane and you just weren't?
No, that was the doctors were telling me not to infuse unless I absolutely had to.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And they were just so worried about the infections and the viruses out
there. So I was curious because me and Drew, we just started to get to know each other. You walk with what it looks like a lot of pain.
Yes.
And, you're suffering from that. Your mobility is very, very limited.
Yeah.
Do you and is it both ankles or just
both ankles?
Both ankles,
right knee, right elbow, right shoulder.
So would the ExoSym be something that
could have
changed your life too?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
So let me add one thing into that with the ExoSym. So if you have a weak knee, they have like an extension that goes off the top of it that will encompass your knee as well. It'll kind of like help that whole thing out.
How has the brace changed your quality of life, like physically and mentally?
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely obviously changed my quality of life. I'm in less pain than I was before. And I'm not saying that it took all my pain away. There's definitely still some pain there at the end of the day, like if I'm really pushing it, but it's so much better. And mentally that allows you to just, focus on so many different other things, without having that pain in your life.
Yeah. So, Chris, do you think this is a game changer for other hemophiliacs facing joint damage? Who should consider this?
Yeah, so I definitely think it's a game changer, and I don't think it's for everybody. You have to be willing to put in the work to make these work for you. You have to do the therapy, you have to do the strength training, at the gym, and you have to commit to the bit. But if you're not willing to, then save your money and go get a fusion or a replacement at that point. But if you're going to put the work in, I think they're definitely worth it for you.
Awesome. Well, I hope this helps out a lot of people. I mean, like even you, Drew. I mean, I think this could be something, game changing for you too. I mean, honestly, I think I could benefit from it a lot too, but I don't, man, that's a process. It's a hard process. I don't know if I'm ready to commit to something like that yet. I think I might, like there was a point in my life where I was struggling bad. I could not get out of bed. I couldn't keep a job. I was crying because I didn't think I'd be able to provide for my family. Like I was in a terrible position for such a long time.
Well, you got videos up of you limping real bad.
Dude, yeah, I was in a very depressed state. And then all of a sudden, just for me personally, I started I used the gym, and I remember being on the treadmill and just being in so much pain, but I was like, I'm pushing. I just like, I'm a very spiritual person too. And, I go to God with a lot of my problems, and I don't know what it was, but I just kept on praying on it. And all of a sudden I just started slowly getting better and better. And I don't know if the bodybuilding career stuff kind of played a role in it, and, taking testosterone and other performance enhancing things, Viagra. No, I'm kidding. Nothing. That can't.
Wrong performance.
That couldn't have been it. It couldn't have been the Viagra. That did help me get more children. That did not help my ankles. But no, so I don't know. Something happened though, to where all of a sudden it's like I'm manageable now. Like, yeah, I'm in pain. Yeah, I have bad days, but I'm not like in critical condition anymore. So I don't really feel that need right now to do it. I think the only thing that would help me to do is be able to like maybe run and feel that feeling again. But I don't know if I'm willing to spend that much money to do that. I'm kind of cool being a chill dude who doesn't run much. But
until you have to,
it's like getting chased. What's that new thing that's out? The 100 men versus
100 men versus gorilla.
A gorilla.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. You think 100 hemophiliacs can take on one gorilla? all of our needles and shit. I think we can take on a gorilla.
I'll bring it.
Okay. All right. Let's jump into segment 2. What's up?
I said it'd have to be a flat surface so nobody rolls an ankle.
Right.
Yeah. Anybody?
If it's uphill, we're done.
We're getting into the details. What kind of surface are we working with here? I mean, are there any potholes that we're dealing with? Like, that's funny.
All right. So let's talk about mental health. Living with hemophilia is a mental war zone. What's your take on how the community is doing mentally?
So I don't know, man. This is kind of like where I differ so much from others, I think. And this is probably where I might come off as like insensitive or like being a jerk, but really I'm just trying to give like another option on how to view living with hemophilia. To me, we're bigger than hemophilia. We've all said it doesn't define us. Getting bleeds is like the least of my worries. Honestly, like this shit is easy to me, in other words. And like injuries and pain are part of life. Does it get depressing at times? Yes, of course it does. But it does for everyone else too. Like as an example, basketball was taken away from me and I loved that sport and I got hurt playing it, but hey, so did Kobe and Derrick Rose, but they got up and they got back into it and that's basically what I did. And those injuries and arthritis came as a result of it, but I would never change it. That was a great time in my life, but eventually basketball gets taken away for everyone as well. For us, it just gets taken away a little bit sooner, sometimes. And again, for me, the real problems are outside of hemophilia: managing relationships, paying your bills, planning a wedding, filing your taxes. Maybe there's something even more extreme, like you're in an abusive relationship or your parents are getting a divorce. Those are real problems. A rolled ankle or a jammed finger that caused a bleed is nothing compared to those. I believe like hemophiliacs get so caught up in worrying about bleeds and getting injured that they forget that what the real problems are. And even then, I've heard the saying like, you're not depressed, that's just Tuesday. So let's get up, let's get moving, let's start moving. That's what I think really works for me. And that's really how I look at hemophilia. And I barely think about it. Like, unless I'm trying to give hope to others or do a podcast like this, it's, I'm not thinking that I'm a hemophiliac. So maybe that's where I differ a little bit on things. So that's
Chris, that's very insensitive of you. That's very, I'm actually highly offended by that entire spiel you just gave, to be honest with you. I mean, okay, so listen here, I'm going to give my opinion on that. I do think, through my experience seeing so many different people with this disorder, that there's different severity levels. And I've seen so many people do speeches and talks. I've seen guys with mild hemophilia go up there and talk about their amazing accomplishments, and then they tell the one story about the one bleed they ever had in their life. And here's the thing: is that's just not going to relate with everyone. And I've talked to the guys like yourself, people who get 1 to 2 to 3 bleeds a week, or maybe they have inhibitors. And then I got a buddy, in Oklahoma, who's got an inhibitor, and he is in so much pain all the time, getting bleeds all the time, and the medication doesn't work for him. So he's got to use all this special medication to try to rectify that. I just feel like we all have a different experience. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. Like I don't want to be. I've personally had to build a stronger mindset to kind of get through a lot of my stuff too. I was raised in a very tough love environment. My mom was very much like, dust yourself off, like pick yourself up. But I know everyone struggles differently. So I don't want to push even my mentality on some people. I think you do have to be a little bit more sensitive to a degree, because where I disagree a little bit is that, I think some people don't have the ability to just pretend like, hey, like, just whatever, like I don't have hemophilia, like whatever. Like sometimes it's taken control of your life to where no matter how strong your mentality is, it starts to win. And I mean, what is your, how do you kind of feel about the whole mental side of everything? Like, does it get to you? Or?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's always days that it brings you down, especially on high, arthritic days. And, you're like, oh, I got to clean the house, but I can't today. And maybe not tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or you want to do something fun and you just can't. And you break, plans with friends and family. And that's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah, because even for me, like, when I was trying to go in the working force, like, and just doing all these labor positions, dude, I have a strong mindset. I wouldn't be where I am without a strong mindset. And dude, I would wake up so motivated and try to tackle an 8-hour shift. And then my body the next morning, my ankles would be swelled up.
Yeah.
Can't get my shoes on. Dude, that's demoralizing. I don't care who you are. I don't care how strong you are. That is demoralizing. You have to get up and provide. And your body's saying, nope, I don't care how strong you are.
Yeah.
So that really gets to you. But what I have developed is a mindset of this world does not give a shit. They don't care. The world just doesn't care. So you do have to start saying, hey, there is no handicap card out there. There is no freebie card to success. So if you have this disorder and you are chasing greatness, you are chasing success, you want to be that top percentage in whatever field you're in, you are going to have to eventually, toughen up and understand that you don't have a special handicap card to get there. And you're going to have to find a way. It's not going to be easy, but you do have to develop, habits and a special mindset to overcome what we're going through.
One of the tough things is, you see somebody and you are on crutches or in a wheelchair and you see them the next day and you're not. Mm-hmm. And trying to explain to them, I don't need it every day, and they don't grasp the concept of you need the assistance sometimes. And, and it could be a stranger, it could be, a friend or anything. And that can beat you down, especially growing up. And, it can be rough.
Yep.
People can be cruel.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that I'm not, insensitive to it. I'm just kind of like looking at like it from a different angle, I think. And where I see it is like I view it's almost like not that I'm not a hemophiliac, but everybody else is one too. Like they're dealing with it in some sort of way. Like taking your medicine, I have to do that every day, but I feel like everybody else is doing that too, in another word, in some sort of way.
But
it's just like part of life. That's what we got to do.
You were talking about not having any bleeds for like a while. Like, dude, that sounds insane to me.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't even understand what that sounds like. And it's not that I don't infuse like you do, it's not, I'm doing all the hard work outside of this, but like, no matter what I do, I mean, I'm probably getting a bleed a week, no matter how on top I am of things. So
like random ones.
Yeah. I'm in the gym. So, but it's like, you're supposed to be able to, the idea is you take your prophy and you're supposed to be covered. Well, that's just not the case. Like, I mean, I take my medication like I'm supposed to, but whether it's just doing daily things or whatever it is, but it always does seem to be random. I'll wake up and, recently I've been having hip bleeds. I woke up today and I have this huge bruise on my thigh and I'm like, I don't know I didn't get hit. Like, I don't really know what happened, but yeah, I don't know. So that is it is a unique approach, but it's tough because I feel like you have to be strong, man. You do have to build this like resilient attitude.
That's like the shirt that I got on right now. It's a Cam Hanes shirt. It's nobody cares, work harder. You know what I mean? Like
I think so. Like I love the topic of mental health and I'm super obsessed with it because I work in the industry and I do get to see a lot of people who go through what I go through, but they don't have that ability to persevere. And that upsets me. That hurts me. That's like, it hits my soul because it's like, I do believe that there is a special skill set that you can learn and special ways to go about your life, whether it's new habits, new routines that you do, just ways that you prep yourself, the food you eat, the working out. I mean, there's just so much that goes into it that could really help, some people, but they weren't really taught these things. And I'm seeing people suffer. And I look at guys like you, Chris, and I look up to you because when I look at you, I see somebody who's empowered. I see, from the outside looking in, it looks like you have very healthy relationships. You're a smart guy. You have a good position. You're like, it seems like you are doing what you want to do. And, I have always seen that from afar and admired that about you. And for me, I don't know what people see, but I've failed, for me, it's failed relationships, just struggling to find consistency, mental health battles. But I've tried to, my whole thing, my book right here, adversity equals opportunity. That's been my thing. It's just like, I don't know why all this stuff's happening to me, but the switch that I flipped in my life eventually was, instead of being a victim to every little thing that was happening, it was a new mindset. Okay, what opportunity is in this? Okay, my relationship's messed up. There's got to be an opportunity here. Something, these setbacks, where's the opportunity? And just and making that my life philosophy has completely flipped things upside down.
Yep. 100%. And I think that's one of the things that I kind of use myself as well. Is like, if you can't be a hero for yourself, be a hero for someone else. And if you can
Dude, I
show
love
them how
that.
to, you can show
Yeah.
them how to live and show them how to go through it and just give a great example for somebody.
Dude, no, that's amazing. And that's, I mean, honestly, that's one of the secrets right there. It really is. It's like, if you can take, put yourself to the side and stop making it all about you, think, you change your life. You help other people, but you also change yourself. And
Yep, it'll come back to you. Yep.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, there's definitely transformations that you go through growing up.
Um,
So, Chris, were there moments you wanted to quit or you felt like a victim to this life? Like, how did you flip the switch?
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, it's just like, I don't think it's really like a point where I've wanted to quit. Definitely depressed about things that have happened or things that I've had to do. But I think for me, it's just like, we need to make adjustments. It's just what we do. Like, I really wanted to go into auto body coming out of high school, but obviously I couldn't do that. I knew my ankles couldn't do it. So we had to make an adjustment. And yes, that sucks. But like I said, it's just what we have to do. And everyone has to make these adjustments. And I'm doing stuff as a hemophiliac or not.
yeah.
And I think that way, like I said about my medication, I don't view it like I'm different because I have to do this. I just view it like everyone has to do this. So I don't know why, but that's just really what my mindset is. And it's almost like all this is kind of normal. Just don't know any different, right? Like, this is the normal everyday life. I'm not viewing myself as different than anyone. So maybe that's the result of having a great support system growing up. I was lucky. I had great parents. They were split, but great.
Yeah.
I had friends that would, sit with me and play Nintendo 64 with me because I had a bleed that day. We made the best of it at school. A wheelchair to get out of class early, race the kid that is permanently in the wheelchair, and of course, there was always some people, that I think Carlton mentioned it on one of the podcasts that, thought you were playing around or doing something like that. But, I had a different mindset where I was like, okay, well, just wait till I get off these crutches and I'll see you on the basketball court. Like, let's
Yeah.
go. You know what I mean? So, like I said, it's all about, I think, making the adjustments to overcome those situations that really make you depressed.
Yeah.
I think there comes a time in your life when you have to choose, am I a victim or am I a survivor?
Oh yeah, for sure. I went through that phase for sure. I played the victim role for quite a while, and I had anger issues, and I would, yeah. So and then you have to you have to get rid of that victim mentality.
Definitely.
Even people that don't have hemophilia suffer from
Absolutely.
victim mentality. With like Chris said, there's so many other things that are out there that can ruin people. And
Yep.
but yeah, you just have to change your ways. All right, so let's see. So what do you say to someone, Chris, listening right now, who does feel broken or unseen or isolated by their condition? Because there are a lot of people that are still suffering, and the goal of this podcast is to kind of give them some real ways that they can make some changes in their life.
Yeah, I think, kind of what I said previously, you just kind of remind yourself that you're really, at the end of the day, not that much different than everyone else. You just tend to get hurt more, and like I said, if you can't be a hero for yourself, be a hero for someone else. I think give them a reason to get up and move and help them out, and you'll help yourself out in return.
Yeah. I love that. All
right, so let's talk fitness. You're in the gym putting in real work. What are the do's and the don'ts for someone with a bleeding disorder?
So I think a lot of this has to do with like your baseline. So if you were in shape at like a young age, you'll be able to start going to the gym and kind of get right into it, so to speak. I always said the best way to get in shape is to never get out of shape. So like, I was always active when I was younger. I was never really a couch potato. So when I walked into the gym with my friends, I just started doing, pretty much exactly what they were doing. But for do's and don'ts, definitely for the do's, do stretch, do warm up, and do start at a low weight, and learn what your body can and can't do. For the don'ts, obviously, just don't go in there full bore. And I mean, really, I'll say it again, we're really kind of no different with everyone else in that regard. You wouldn't do that if you were normal. You wouldn't just go in there and just start hammering away on 225 on the bench.
Yeah.
I just give that same advice to non-hemophiliacs as well.
Yeah. No, the fitness topic is getting really big. Actually, after the Carlin episode, I had quite a few messages, private messages of people jumping in the gym. I don't know if Donna's on. If Donna ends up listening to this, she's got hemophilia, and man, she was really excited about all the information that she learned, and she's been asking tons of follow-up questions. She's been in the gym like 3 weeks already. She's down like 10 pounds or so. She's doing awesome. So
that's great.
Yeah, I love this topic a lot. So, Chris, what are some of your go-to exercises that help you build strength without compromising your joints? Are there any specific exercises that you prefer or you would recommend to a hemophiliac?
Yeah, so for me, I would use machines for my target joint areas. For legs, I prefer to use a Smith machine for doing squats. So maybe raise the heel on a plate or a mat or whatever they have laying around. Sometimes they have those nice boards that you can angle at different positions. Those are nice. But I would say that's, again, that's for anyone and whatever their target joint is. I would, kind of stick to the machines in my opinion. If it's your shoulder, then maybe do shoulders on the machine. And that takes those kind of like the awkward motions out of it of using a dumbbell or whatever that you could potentially get hurt in. But then I would also follow up with strengthening the joint as well, using bands and, all that kind of stuff to keep the stabilizers on point.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what I recommend too, for sure, is doing a lot of, I use a lot of cables. I mean, even now, I'm even more in an advanced stage, but I still will prefer using cables, and it's help, cables are machines, and it helps you keep the tension and the right, on the eccentric and concentric movement. You can time under tension, they call it TUT, TUT, time under tension. The more time under tension you put the muscle, the more you can break it down properly and then rebuild.
So what types of workouts or movements should hemophiliacs avoid at all costs in your experience?
Yeah, see, I think that's kind of like a tricky question. It's kind of very dependent, on the person. You need to learn your body, like I said. What's good for one might not be good for the other. Like you always hear swimming is great for hemophiliacs. Wrong, not for this hemophiliac. Like for me, that absolutely kills my ankles. I can't swim like at all. And I think that, that maybe has to do with like pointing your toes and kicking.
I swear to God, I just had this conversation with someone. I forgot where I was, in Florida or somewhere. They were saying the same thing. Oh, swimming is the best for hemophiliacs. I go, no. And I literally explained it word for word the way Chris just did. I'm like, you do this little thing with your freaking ankles, and all of a sudden I get out of the pool, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't walk.
Yep.
But choose swimming as a hemophiliac, man. That's the grade A sport.
Yeah. Yep. And again, it's probably arthritic at this point, but still, it does not help, and it would cause bleeds for me previously. From even just like slipping around on the bottom of the pool. That was always a problem too. But I think you just gotta learn yourself what you can and can't do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So just so your target joint it's just your ankles?
Just my ankles.
Okay. Yep. So for your leg movements, you said Smith machine is kind of something that you can do. I mean, did you lose mobility in your ankles, or is it just painful?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're it's almost like they're fused at this point.
Oh, okay. So even with it fused, you like to put a plate underneath so that you can like while you're doing the Smith machine?
Yeah, I sometimes put a plate under my heel depending on what I'm doing. If I have the brace on or not, sometimes that makes a difference.
And that helps you get more parallel to the ground and stuff?
Yeah, it allows me to if you put your heel up, you're getting able to bend over more. So
Okay, interesting. I haven't really tried that. I kind of gave up on, because my ankles are the same way. But all I do is the seating press. You just sit down and I do a press, and then I do extensions. You
feel like a monster when you're on the leg press. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Oh heck yeah, that leg press makes you feel like a beast.
Yeah.
How do you train smart? What tips do you have for others trying to get in shape safely with a chronic condition?
Yeah, I think my main tip here is to kind of not be afraid and just to get out there and do it, and you're going to get hurt from time to time, but you'll recover. You'll learn what you can and can't do. Just, try to be mindful of not overdoing it while you're doing it, but you're capable of doing much more than you think. And again, I'm not doing anything special out here. I'm just showing up to the gym, even for non-hemophiliac perspective, again, I don't think people realize how much it really does not take to be in decent shape. I don't follow a routine. I just show up, I just train, and I could be, could I be going harder at the gym? Absolutely. I mean, I think I look okay. Could I be more shredded? Yes, but like,
But that
it
doesn't
really,
mean
it
that
really,
you're not going to get that way just because you spend another hour in the gym. That's going to
right.
come from diet.
Correct. And like, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't take much. You just gotta show up and leave the excuses at the door. Show up with consistency, and like like I said before in our introduction podcast, I'm not special. I'm not an exception. Just an example. So just show up, put in the work, and repeat. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, a lot of people, they do try to go in and go 0 to 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And then, they have this mentality that you have to be in there for a long time in order for it to be, an efficient session.
Yep.
But for me personally, right now, I've competed, I've spent hours and hours in the gym, but now my philosophy has completely changed and I'm actually seeing better results. And my eating's more on point, and then my sessions are no longer than 45 minutes. I mean,
Right.
I can do it in 30 because I'm just getting through it. That's it. Like, dude, it feels like nothing. And you feel just that 30 minutes of an efficient workout in and out, it'll change your life, your mentality, your body. And
Yeah, I heard you and Carlton talking about it last time, and you was like 35, 45 minutes. I was like, "Uh, it really doesn't take that much,
dude, that's
clearly. Like,
it.
look at you guys. It's like,
Dude,
that's all you need.
All right, so Chris, is fitness more about your body or your mindset?
I think it's definitely the mindset. I mean, we've all kind of heard those studies out there that exercise is so much more effective than SSRIs and antidepressants and stuff, and it makes a huge difference in your outlook. You can look at your body functions better, you start to look better, and then that also contributes to your mental state. So I think it's an overall like kind of positive cycle, but I think at the end of the day it's your mindset for sure.
One of the hardest parts of living with hemophilia isn't even the bleeding, it's the insurance system. You've had to deal with this firsthand. Tell us about a time the system failed you.
So I think one of the hardest things was, for me was losing my local pharmacy. That was like the worst part. I hated that. Getting a new insurance by going to a new employer, we had to change things around, obviously, every time you do that. But now I have to call out to, I won't drop names, but a Credo, who is awful. I can't stand it.
Boo. I wish I had a soundboard. But if you
light
work for a Credo,
them
don't
up.
listen to this podcast.
Light them up. I can't stand it. But then, they have to ship it out, and I have to be here to sign for it. And before I could just call up my local pharmacy and be like, hey, can I get my medication? And they'd be like, yeah, we'll have it over this afternoon. And they would just leave it on the doorstep. Nobody has to sign for it, all that. And I guess that depends on where you live and stuff too. But still, the worst part about it with the Credo was when they messed up my copay assistance. Somehow they ran through $15,000 worth of copay assistance in 6 months, and then I found out that my copay going forward would only be $180. I'm like, that math doesn't work out. You didn't go through $15,000 in 6 months at $180. But it's the constant battles with insurances on getting the medication covered. And where can I get it from? And it's coming up to the new year, and then you have to renew. And you have to constantly work with your employer in the HR office to be like, hey, did something change? Then they don't know those answers. So then you have to go further and talk to, not even the regular customer service on your insurance card. You have to talk to somebody else that's specifically in a different thing. And then it's a whole battle all the time. And it's awful. It's awful. Cause then sometimes you end up with, a gap, and then it's like, what do you do then?
That brings up nightmares, man. That brings back nightmares. It has. The thing, like for me, when I was younger, I was just so like, Chris is probably a lot smarter than me, but man, I was kind of left to the wolves, man, on my own. I was like becoming a young adult.
Yeah.
I had no idea how to make these calls. I was too immature to like understand. Like now I understand how things work. Obviously I've been in it for a while now, but I had zero idea of how insurance systems work and how you make these like, mature phone calls, to get shit done.
It's rough.
And so what I would do of course, any immature person, you just ignore it, right? You ignore it and your problems disappear.
They go away.
Yeah. Then you go to the hospital, you start racking up bills and bills. And eventually you got to say, okay, I need to figure out how to do this thing, whatever this is. So,
Yep.
So what advice would you have for people going through insurance denials, like red tape and prior auth nightmares?
So I would say, leverage your HTC if they have a great staff and, that's willing to help you out. I had that at my HTC, and she went to battle with the insurance companies for me on my behalf, which, I'm super thankful for. So, you can also leverage the different, chapters that are out there, your local chapter, who have the resources and experts to kind of like guide you through those kind of things. And what I really wish there was an organization that would do those battles on your behalf for you in any situation, not necessarily related to a chapter or anything, just kind of like an insurance advocate would be like an awesome position.
I agree.
Do I smell a business?
Dude, like just make that your full-time job. Yeah, just be like you do the. I do feel like we need that because that is a setback. Like you're trying to focus on life and all this stuff, and it's like now I gotta dedicate all this time to navigating this unknown.
Yeah.
Let's start a new gig, brother. So, do you know any organizations or resources that help patients fight back or get support financially?
Yeah. So, like I said, the HTCs, they have their own kind of funding that you can get from them.
Yeah.
And they'll of course, try to help you, point you in the right direction and hook you up with other, I think the one that I talked to is the Eastern PA chapter of whatever.
Yeah.
They were helpful too in going to battle and at least telling me the things that, I could say to try to fight back on things and try to even decipher what they were saying and why they were doing certain things, like why the insurance is saying this and why the pharmacy is using your copay the way that they are, that I would never even think of. And, talk about those, what's that called? A PBM? Is that what it's called? Yeah, whatever those are. Yeah. And like how that all works. But those are the main two that I see. But if we can get that business up and running, there'd be another one.
Yeah, man. I'm saying, so I just think the key is to stop being afraid to ask for help. I know that I've talked to so many hemophiliacs, and I think we all kind of like have that. We just don't want to ask for help, but we need to start asking, asking each other for help. Hope, I would say, speaking of organizations, Hope for Hemophilia has become a standout organization, and it's such a personal experience when you work with them. You make a phone call and you talk to someone and they just sound like they just really care, and they have so many resources there. Most manufacturers, no matter what medication you have, now offer some kind of copay assistance program. So, them, and then whatever pharmacy you do decide to use besides Accredo, they will help you. They should help you. CVS sucks. I mean, so I think that some people do need to start having expectations of what a specialty pharmacy should offer you. And most of the smaller specialty pharmacies have some kind of coordinator or experienced advocate that's willing to go to battle for you too. So find an advocate out there that you look up to, that you want to work with, and so and those they will actually fight for you. We do that. We personally do that. We both work for a specialty pharmacy, and we will go to battle. And we actually have we have huge team meetings. And what's awesome is that we all have a special skill set in a different area. So we'll be like, oh, go talk to Steve about this. Go talk to Dustin about this. And we start pulling strings and we just start making stuff happen for people. So there are people out there that will do that kind of work for you. The PAN Foundation has been a huge one too. They help pay insurance premiums, and I actually just signed up last week. Last week I just got a call back. Their wait list just opened up, and they're going to start paying for my premium.
Nice.
Well. Yeah.
Nice.
So.
Yeah. And there's also programs from the manufacturers that are really helpful. I basically, through that whole insurance battle that I had, with Accredo and them misusing my copay assistance, and that copay assistance comes from the manufacturers. So I reached out to them, kind of told them whatever was going on, and they're like, yeah, we got you covered. You're going to get free product. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. I don't know how I qualified for that, but sure, let's do it, and it was, I couldn't, that was amazing. They did that for 2 or 3 years almost. And I was like, I couldn't believe it.
That's amazing. Yep. I've gone through an experience like that too, where I was taken care of for a while. So yeah, that's awesome.
So if you had the power to change the healthcare system for hemophiliacs, what's the first thing you'd fix?
So I think there's a couple of different things there. I'd say that, being able to choose your own pharmacy would be good and automatically have that medication covered because, like once you have a diagnosis, why do we have to constantly go through this? Like it's all medically necessary, so just approve it. So, I think you should be able to have more than also a month's worth of medication on hand. That's always like so annoying to me. Like, why do I have to keep ordering this? Like, just give me a whole year's worth that doesn't expire.
Dude, he's
within that time.
Reaching right now.
And I'm like, what are we doing? Yeah, like why are we running? I'm gonna need it. Like,
I'm with you.
And then, lastly, let's just make those gym memberships covered by insurance as well. I think that would be, a big benefit for everybody. It'd be a benefit for the insurance and it'd be a benefit for the doctors. And like, it's that whole sick care versus health care kind of thing, and, there are some programs that will cover your gym memberships. They have ones that actually I'm part of one. I pay my insurance $40 a month and then I get access to like all the gyms in my area. But
nice.
I think stuff like that would be helpful for everybody, and getting that mindset over to healthcare instead of sick care.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. That just the freedom of choice, for patients again. And, we're in the industry and we've noticed, there's so many, it's becoming like a monopoly, and there's so many carve outs now. And so it's just, I think some states are opening up now. I forgot what state it was, just changed, where they're giving everyone freedom of choice. I don't know the name of that state now, but it's starting to slowly happen again where that's opening up.
That's good to know.
Yeah. I wish I knew the state.
It ain't Pennsylvania, I'll tell you that.
No. I don't know. I forget. But one of the states, it's getting like that again. But yeah, it's been a pain to watch, and that's happened to me a lot of times too. I wanted to go with someone, and then they're like, "Oh no, you have to use Express Scripts or Credo. Credo is a main one." But yeah, Chris, thanks so much, man. This has been a raw, honest, and powerful episode. I appreciate your vulnerability and your leadership. To everyone listening, whether you're living with hemophilia, caring for someone who is, or just trying to stay strong in your own fight, remember this: struggle builds strength, mindset moves mountains, and your story has power. Follow Chris Mill on Instagram at MILLZY2370 to stay connected with him and his journey. And if this episode spoke to you, share it, tag a friend, leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I'm L.A. Aguayo. This is my co-host, Drew. This was another episode of the Hemo Life Podcast. Keep rising and keep striding forward.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hemo Life Podcast. Today's episode hopefully inspired you and provided valuable insights to enhance your journey. Join us again to hear more incredible stories and expert advice from our community. Make sure to subscribe and stay connected with a group of extraordinary achievers and pioneers. On behalf of L.A. Aguayo and the entire Hemo Life team, keep pushing forward, strive for excellence, and remember, you are the architect of your own destiny. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and continue on your path to an elite life.